And
All right, gentlemen, we are live. And so I guess we'll give a few minutes to see who starts wandering in here, filtering in here. But I'm excited to have both of y'all in here. Sean, this is your second time here. Jared, your first time here. And I think we're gonna have a good time with a fantastic topic this evening that we can share with lots of other people. This is good information that others need to know, need to be aware of, particularly in terms of home protection, self-defense, personal protection, preparing your family, lots of different things we're going to cover this evening. So fantastic. How are y'all doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I am doing excellent. I really am. I'm glad to be able to get back and hang out with you. Now I know that some of these guys will probably give me a hard time this evening because I'm committing a major faux pas by inviting a woman into the barbershop. Oh my goodness. But Sean, you've got somebody with you this evening. Tell us who you got.
Well, I would say that typically women don't belong in the barbershop. Killers are killers. And so, I've got Brittany's here with me. She is my woman. She is a well-trained hunter. She is an outdoors woman. She is a fisherman. I don't know, whatever. She is, she can hunt it, skin it, kill it, eat it, clean it, season it, whatever it takes.
Fantastic. That's good stuff. And I've seen some pictures of y'all, I guess, probably in the deer stand as well as out on the range, all that kind of good stuff. So, and of course, I've met Sassy in person. You have, or that is the name you had up here. That's met
what her nieces and nephews call her. She loves it.
Do what?
That's what her nieces and nephews call her. She loves it.
All right. Yeah, because I've never called her that before. So cool beans. So we're going to get back. I'm looking forward to hearing you talk a little bit about how y'all train together, a little bit about how you've taught her and how you've taught some of your children and grandchildren, or what's going on with that. We'll get back to that. Jared, you also have your son with you hiding somewhere in the background, do you not?
yes, sir. This is my son Clayton. He is 14. And speaking of the
and at 14, it's my understanding he's what, like 6'1", 220. No, how big is he really?
Pretty close. That's very close. Definitely 6'1" with his boots on. And he outweighs me. I gave him one of my old duty belts, and we had to expand it. And it's in the process of being set up, so he's not wearing his duty belt tonight. But speaking of training, we just had an incident where yesterday where his training came in. We can talk about that later. So
fantastic. So looking forward to that. I know I've heard a couple stories, so maybe you can share something of his growing skill set. But I'm excited now. Do y'all have a beverage of choice this evening? Because a lot of times we start off the barbershop with a beverage of choice, just so we know who's got what.
I just have coffee.
Black coffee?
Not quite. I'm from a dairy farming family, so it's got a little bit of corruption in it.
I drank my coffee black until I went to Ranger School, and then I got really soft because I could get an extra 2 teaspoons of sugar and a little bit of milk in it every time we had opportunity to have coffee. And it was like, and after that, I never went back to black coffee. I can do it, but I don't do it very often. It's usually with cream and sugar, sweet and blonde, like I like my women.
So we do that.
So, what is your beverage of choice this evening, Sean?
Oh, I'm just having a little Jim Beam on the rocks.
Is that your go-to?
It is lately. I actually was a Jameson guy forever, and my neighbor got me turned on to Jim Beam here recently, and it's about 42% of the price of Jameson. So I have made the switch.
I know that I got I like food porn and got pictures of your Shabbat dinner night before last.
Yeah.
And and the same thing was there. So that's why I said that must be your go-to.
Yeah.
No, so this evening I've got a from an Anderson, South Carolina distillery, from the Palmetto Distillery, a little bit of Palmetto whiskey, and so I'm gonna. This is, I think, the second time I've had one of these. It's a good little bottle, and it's a local distillery, so it's kind of nice to support that, and so that's what I'm gonna have, as well as some water. So. All right, so for the audience there, just so you have an idea who we've got in here this evening, I've got two distinguished men. It was funny. I said, y'all send me a quick bio, and one of them sent me a novella, and the other one sent me 5 bullet points. I won't let y'all. I won't call y'all out. But it was funny. We had a good laugh between the three of us. But Jared is actively working on a daily basis in a very high level security agency, has a background that I guess started with police work and then went into some federal work and then some private security and then back into federal work and then now working for a high level security agency providing personal protection, personal security, site security, that kind of thing. You've done some high level stuff in terms of extraction of people and seeing the real deal on the streets in terms of up close and personal, real sort of stuff. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, sir. Just had some incidents this last couple of weeks. So what you're talking about in terms of daily carries and personal protection and getting your family ready and these kind of things, this is your everyday this is your everyday life. Yes. When conversations come up, which asks, how many rounds do people carry on a regular basis? I found out that if I answer that truthfully, it makes people uncomfortable.
I've seen some of the gear that you carry on a daily basis. You're ready for it. It's about what a loadout was when I was on a squad in the military, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Very similar to that. So. And then Sean, your background is there we go. Palmetto paratrooper chiming in with 210 is his is that your daily carry or is that like a loadout for you, Palmetto? And then Sean is Army vet, and you were infantry.
Yes, sir.
And were you a scout or what all did you do military wise?
So when I went in at the ripe old age of 17, I went to Fort Benning and I was 11 Bravo, and then with 11 Bravo Charlie 4, which was a sniper school candidate. And then I went to Fort Hood, which is a mech unit. So I cross-trained with the 19 Deltas, which was the scouts in the 19 Kilo Battalion. We were the first one with the M1A2 Abrams tank. So I got to spend a little time on the Mexican border doing some JTF Joint Task Force work with the Border Patrol, and then spent a little bit of time in the sandbox over in Iraq, and then came back and got out and went into the corporate world.
But ongoing life-wise, corporate world, but staying very active in terms of hunting, fishing, being in the bush. You love that. Raised your sons that way.
Well, actually got out of the corporate arena, moved everything to the homestead, bought almost 28 acres in Bryan, and we've got a stock tank, we've got wildlife, we've got chickens, we've got cattle next door. So yeah, we're trying to, by this, we keep saying by this time next year, but really by Christmas, or what the Christians would call Christmas, but by New Year's of next year, we aspire to only go to the grocery store for luxury items.
Fantastic. And one of the things that's really interesting, I guess I hadn't thought about this in advance, but you two gentlemen actually live probably within about an hour of each other in North Texas.
We do.
About an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And I keep trying to put you two together. So
we're gonna make it
maybe this will help precipitate. Y'all can put your heads together because you've got a lot of good information to share and work together on.
not to point any fingers, but one of the three of us seems to work about 60 hours a week. So, we just got to get schedules lined up. I'm pointing fingers.
I was going to say at Jared's out of town all the time too.
Yeah.
That's one of his big challenges there too.
Busy man.
So cool beans. Now, Sassy, your background is more corporate, and so how much of your training, or how much training did you have, or things did you know prior to the last probably 10 years with Sean?
Zero. Yeah, for sure. I had shot a rifle a few times before. I had shot one deer and field dressed it, and that was really the extent of my knowledge. I do have a healthcare background, so I took many years of anatomy and physiology. So getting my hands dirty and identifying muscles and body parts and things like that was familiar. But as far as actual training, zero.
So actually, Sean, you can say that I've seen at least one picture of her cooking with a long arm strapped on. so I know that in your house, security is something you've taught and something that she takes seriously, and something that So we'll get into that in more detail in a minute. But maybe you can tell a little bit on that story.
Gladly. We were talking about rifle PT, and she asked me what rifle PT was while she was cooking dinner. And so I had to give her a demonstration of what rifle PT was. And then when she was done doing a little rifle PT and it was time to return to dinner, she said, "What do I do with this firearm?" I said, "You stick it on your back, you get to dinner, and we got more rifle PT to do." So that's the origin of that picture.
That's fantastic. I laughed as soon as I saw that. I said, "That's hilarious." In the kitchen, just a beautiful home. And, I guess she's standing at the stove or something. I don't know. It's a shot from the back and she's got it slung across her back. That's pretty awesome.
I had to teach her what chow sling meant.
Fantastic. So what I want to do is I kind of want to start with a little bit of a foundation from a scriptural perspective. What is the responsibility of a man to protect himself, to protect his family, to protect his home? All these different parts. And Jared, I know that you have done some of this before. You've actually taught this before, because I've got the PowerPoint right here. And I want us to try to run through this, see if you can make this pretty quick. I'll flip slides for you, or I'll scroll through these, however this works. But what I'd love for you to do is just to speak up and give us kind of a quick thumbnail sketch on what our responsibilities are as men for taking care of our homes and protecting the ones that we love. Let me get this up here real quick. And right here. There, can we see that?
There it goes.
Got the screen here, yeah.
All right, so yeah, just talk us through this, and I'll start scrolling through this thing, and you run fast and hard, and then we'll have a chance to really discuss some of this and some of the finer points about how you prepare your family, what your daily carries are. Talk about some of the different things that you're passionate about in terms of personal protection and your family protection.
This PowerPoint here is the Bible study portion, opening up an active shooter response course that I was doing for churches back when I was still in Christianity. Most important thing here is Ezekiel 33:6. But if the watchman sees a sword coming and does not blow the trumpet, and people are not warned, and the sword comes and takes a person from them, he is taken away in his iniquity, but his blood I will require from the watchman's hands. So it is our duty to sound the alarm, to wake people up. And it is amazing how many churches I've been in where pacifism was the norm, and they thought you were evil if you taught people how to defend themselves. It was a struggle with some churches to get this class taken for their security teams. Just like David said of Yahweh, he said, vindicate the weak and the fatherless, do justice to the afflicted, rescue the weak and needy, deliver them out of the hand of the wicked. It is our job, it is our duty as men to do as our Messiah, as our Yahweh does, and to protect those who are unable to protect themselves and train those who are. And like a trampled spring and a polluted well is a righteous man who gives way before the wicked. We are the King James Version says that falters before the wicked. So we are not to falter. We are to not to give way to wicked people. We are to stop them. Most people, when you're looking at self-defense or pacifism, many of the people in the church where I came from, they're pacifist. They have, what they say. They'll use scriptures. They see a gun, and this next slide is what they do. Let's see, scroll up right there. They give up like a Frenchman. So what do people say about self-defense, and what does Yahweh say? The pacifist, they say that Yeshua was a pacifist. They use verses like this next one here. Scrolling. Yeah, it talks about, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, but I say not, do not resist an evil person, but he who slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him also the other. This is obviously taken out of context, which we'll get to. They also say, for those who take up the sword shall perish by the sword, but they forget to quote the first part. They say, well, just trust in Yahweh, which that's a very good thing to do, but what does he expect us to do? They'll quote things like, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. They'll say, for he will give his angels charge concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will bear you up in their hands, that you don't strike your foot against a stone. And then they'll say it's the job of the law. It's the law is a minister of God to do you good, but if you do evil, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword for nothing, for he is a minister of God, an avenger who brings wrath on the one who practices evil. So they say, leave it to the government. It's their job. And then they also say the Bible says not to kill. I think the KJV just says kill, but that commandment doesn't mean killing anything, because there's many times we were commanded to kill. So now whosoever has a money belt, this is what Yahweh says, what Yeshua said. Whoever has a money belt is to take it along, likewise a bag, and whoever has no sword, sell his coat and buy one. Sell your comfort, sell what keeps you warm to make sure you're protected. Let's take another look at Matthew 26:52 in the full context that they forget to quote. He told Peter, after he cut off the servant of the high priest, cut off his ear, he told him to put his sword back in his place. For all who take up the sword shall perish by the sword. Or do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? How then will the scriptures be fulfilled, which say that it must happen this way? He did not tell Peter to put his sword away forever. He told him to put it in his place. You can go on to the next slide. The sword wasn't to protect the King of Kings, the ruler of heaven and earth. It was for his own safety. They also say, you have heard it has been said, or Yeshua said, you have heard it has been said, an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth, but I say to you, resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn also the other. This was not about someone trying to harm you in a physical way. This was about an insult. This was about abuse. Barnes' notes on the Bible and Gill's exposition of the Bible both agree that this passage was Yeshua was addressing a fallacy, that the religious leaders of the time were teaching personal vengeance instead of the legal channels, and that Yeshua was not prohibiting self-defense. While Yeshua told Peter to put his sword in his place, Clearly, he did not say get rid of it forever. That would have contradicted what he had just told the disciples a few hours earlier, recorded in Luke 22:36. Again, his sword was to protect his own life and property. It was not needed to protect Yeshua. So Yeshua was not a pacifist. In the wilderness, when he was fasting for 40 days, Satan came to him and he quoted Psalm 91:11-12. And what did Yeshua say? It is written again, you shall not tempt Yahweh, your Elohim. So, yes, trust Yeshua. But you ride in your car without a seatbelt, ignore the safety rules at work, casually do risky activities that make no sense. Are you trusting or tempting? You're tempting. We can go on up to the next one.
This one?
Yes, sir. Now, if you fail to arm and train your family to defend your life, train yourself to defend your life, your family, your property, are you also tempting Yahweh? I think the answer is unequivocally yes. You are tempting him if you fail to do what you're commanded to do. So, yeah, trust Yahweh, just don't tempt him. And then about it being the job of the law. And, the authorities do have a job to do. It is to administer the vengeance. That's where vengeance comes in. Yahweh said, vengeance is mine, I will repay. He uses legal channels to do that. Also, our legal doctrine, our Supreme Court has decided many times that the government is not held to provide individual security. Bowers versus DeVito said there is no constitutional right to be protected by the state against being murdered. This was on a case where a woman was murdered in front of the police and they did nothing to stop it. And so vengeance is the job of the law, the ordained authority, not self-defense. The Hebrew word for kill, because they claim the Bible says not to kill, but the Hebrew word for kill in Exodus 20:13 is raksak, meaning premeditated murder or unjust manslaughter. In the following chapters, Yahweh gave Moses many situations that required a death penalty, told them to kill many times. Yahweh clearly has not told us never to kill. He told us not to do murder, which is taking a life unjustly.
Yeah, which I guess stopping and thinking about this for just a second, it strikes me as an obvious point that Yahweh allowed for the avenger of blood to pursue somebody who had committed murder or had even killed by accident.
That's correct.
The person who had committed the either crime or even the accident, the head of his axe just flew off as an accident, and killed somebody. As long as he could flee to one of the cities of refuge, he would be safe. But until he got there, it was within the right of the avenger of blood. That's an example right out of Scripture that there's a reasonable and rightful expectation to return or to bring vengeance where necessary.
And there was no penalty against the avenger, even if it was an unintentional killing.
That is correct.
And where there is no law, there is no sin. So Exodus 22:2-3, if the thief is caught while he's breaking in and is struck so that he dies, there is no blood guiltiness on his account. But if the sun has risen on him, there will be blood guiltiness for his account. He shall surely make restitution. If he owns nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. This, here in Texas, if someone is breaking into your house at nighttime, according to the law, you can use deadly force to stop them. In the daytime, you have to see a weapon. You have to be in fear for your life. They have to be trying to kill you. But at nighttime, it's obvious. You can't tell whether they're armed or not, so you assume the worst. And that comes straight out of Scripture. Protection and defense is our responsibility. Vengeance is Yahweh's through his ordained ministers.
whether of justice or the law or what have you. Yeah.
Right. Now, that brings up a whole nother topic because, there's not a lot of justice in this world right now, but it's still not our job. And when you meet an evil person, the pacifist on the left says, remember, violence only begets violence. But the violent says, excellent.
Right.
So they love violence. They live by it.
Right. It's goes back to, if guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns. It's that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. For those who think that Yahweh has changed his minds, his views on self-defense, responsibility, consider that what he told Malachi, for I am Yahweh, I change not. He also is quoted in Psalm 89:34, my covenant I will not violate, nor will I alter the words out of my lips. Hebrews 13:8 says that Yeshua is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So if he didn't change about that, there's a lot of other things he didn't change about either. And, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. This does not conflict with he who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. The intent of the scriptures is that we prepare for what may come, work for the restoration of the kingdom, and then we trust him in his perfect plan.
I don't have right here at my hand Psalm 149, but there's a verse in the middle of that talks about with a two-edged sword in our hands and the high praises of our King, or high praises of God on our lips. And that's a fantastic. I love James Block's version of that particular song.
Yes.
Because he's talking about the fact that there comes a time when just literally, we can be, or we will be used as the hand of vengeance for the Most High. So not to derail, but it's an example of him using the sword and using men wielding the sword for his purpose.
Yes, sir.
So go ahead.
This next passage here, I believe, is 1 Timothy 5. Yes, 1 Timothy 5:8. Now, there is a larger context to 1 Timothy 5, but this is an important part to bring out. If any provide not for his own, especially those of his own house, he has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. As men of Yahweh, we must provide for all the needs of our family: shelter, clothing, food, education, spirituality, and the one factor on which all else rests: protection from evildoers. And this is not just physically. This is evil of physical, evil of false doctrine, evil of many, many things. It's our job to protect from those. If we fail in this task that Yahweh has given us, can we truly be called men of Yahweh? I don't think so. If you protect the body but don't protect the soul, you failed. If you protect the soul but don't protect the body, you failed. It's a hand in hand. You have to do both.
So fantastic. We've got a little bit of a foundation here that gives us the scriptural basis for this discussion. We're going to talk a lot more about the practical side of it. That's really what I'd like to see us discuss this evening, is just the practical side. What have you done, or how do you handle things with your family? Jared, how have you trained your son? What are the things that you do? Sean, you training not just some of your children, but also Sassy, and that sort of thing. So let's kind of start there, I guess. What would we start with in terms of your personal sort of carry preferences? What's your daily habit? This sort of thing.
Who's going first?
I mean, I'll tell you, for me, I live in South Carolina. It's an open carry state with a concealed permit. I prefer to open carry, and I do. I don't carry I don't carry expensive. I just have a nice budget 9mm. It's a Taurus G2C that, and you can ask my family. Anytime I'm around here, first thing I do in the morning when I get up, sometimes I'm headed out still in my pajamas to feed animals, and I throw the belt on and go out and do whatever, and I come back in and change it and change clothes or work clothes or whatever, put it on, and I head out with it. Anytime I'm somewhere that I'm not allowed to have it, I just stuff it underneath the seat and lock the vehicle. And then when I come back out, I put it back on. And, that's my normal course of habit. Also, for me personally, a couple of my sons have gotten their concealed permits, and some of them carry concealed all the time. Some of them carry concealed part of the time. But my strong recommendation is have it with them all the time. So that's with the boys. We can talk about the ladies a little bit later, but that's my personal, just everyday kind of practice.
I'll jump in then. So we went through if time permits, we went through a journey in ammo more so than even weapons. We had 45, we had 40, we had 9mm, we had 223, we had 308, we had all these ammo cans. So separate and apart from what guns we were carrying, we were buried in ammo cans. So I opted to sell everything but 9mm, 22, 223, 308. I think that's it. So I think I got us down to 4 basic cartridges. So all of our ammo cans are down to, the basics. And then we each carry a SIG P365 9mm because, so we're a little weird over here, but we went with this. It's a 12 capacity super concealable weapon in which we can exchange magazines. So everything we have, we've actually bought in duplicate. So we have every 223 I have, she has. Different color, maybe, whatever. But mag exchange wise, we're completely compatible. So we both have 9mm pistols, 9mm rifles, 223 pistols, 223 rifles. We both have 308 AR-10s. We both have 308 bolt action. So like everything we have is literally switcherooski, except this Yahoo is right-handed and learned at the ripe old age of about 32 years old that she is left eye dominant. So she had to learn to shoot pistols, rifles, and bows all left-handed because it was easier to learn left-handed than it was to switch eyes. So she has been on about a 24-month training regimen of drawing, chambering, firing,
everything.
Yeah, I mean, like weapon transition, everything left-handed. So it's been she's been quite a trooper for the last 24 months, sincerely.
So, I think it's self-evident, but why do you have everything in matching calibers, matching weapons, matching,
Well, one, we quit shopping at Target, and that was one of the most expensive decisions that I ever made, because that used to be, shoes and purses and other things. And when I cut her off at Target, she fell in love with Palmetto, and she fell in love with various ammo sites. And so part of that is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. But in all seriousness and sincerity, we just realized that if we're going to be a team, we're literally going to be a team. And so in the event, God forbid, one of us get injured or one of us run out of ammunition, it's not going to be the whole I'm carrying this and you're carrying that. She's my foxhole buddy. She's my battle buddy. So if I'm out of ammo and I have to give her a magazine, she needs to be able to take that magazine and load it right into the weapon that she's carrying, whatever system that is, whether it's a handgun, whether it's a long gun, even our shotguns. I mean, she originally, I bought her a 20 gauge shotgun to do a little dove hunting around the property. I turned her on to my 12 gauge and she was like, nope, I've got to have a 12 gauge. So now the 20 gauge is collecting dust and we've got a menagerie of 12 gauges. They're all interchangeable. Just something as simple as, dove hunting in the pasture. So everything that we do, we try to be, while we understand headship and she understands being submissive to me as it relates to being partners and battle buddies, we try to literally be equals on the battlefield the best we can.
Makes a huge amount of sense and probably not something every family stops and thinks about, because a lot of times you just sort of start buying the guns that feel comfortable for one person or another. One person thinks this is really hot and cool and somebody else the other. But you make a lot of great sense right there in terms of being able to share platforms or share magazines, share ammo. I think consistently through the house, we've got 9mm, but we don't have the same weapons, which means that we're not interchangeable like you are. And that's giving me something to think about right there. Very interesting. Very good.
Well, the other thing, just real quick, is we also both have body armor, and so we're covered in magazines front and back. So in the event she's in front of me and I have to pull a magazine off of her back, it'll load right into my pistol or my AR. If she's
Right.
behind me, which she probably will be, I'm double stacked with magazines, so she can pull from my back, reload while covering my back.
Great point. Great point. Good stuff. Jared, what are some of your thoughts on that, as well as tell us a little bit about kind of how things are in your house?
I grew up reading Louis L'Amour, and having a pistol and a rifle that share ammo is just a core tenet of being a cowboy. So I have, because of my work, I carry mostly Glock pistols, and I have a pistol caliber carbine for every caliber that I have. I do have more calibers than Sean because I have them for specific purposes. Mostly what I use is, here's my duty belt for work. When I'm in uniform, stand up a little bit. It's a 511 belt with a Safariland holster that drops 3 magazines in there. I have a backup pistol on my leg, 3 more magazines for that. I have my medical bag. There is a 357 SIG pistol in there with armor. Effective round.
And Palmetto Paratrooper made a point there that if you can make holes, you should be able to plug holes too. And so you got your medical right there.
Yeah, my med kit. I've got chest seals, tourniquets, blood stopper, and additional weapon with additional magazines. If the situation I'm at now, the employees are not supposed to carry weapons, I have 2 spare weapons that they can grab if we get into a situation. I also have my backpack, which has my pistol caliber carbines in it, multiple calibers. It's a convertible weapon. I can convert it from 9mm to 40 caliber, 45, 357 SIG. All that's in the backpack. Also have a 300 Blackout that I carry with me, pistol. As far as slings go, the best sling I believe that you can carry is I believe it's called American Gunfighter. It goes from a single point to a dual point, tightens up. You can run with it. It doesn't move around. If you need to go into action, you push out, and it's perfect. And I also have my vest. I've got more rounds on here. Palmetto Paratrooper was saying how many he carried on him, and well, you need some catching up. So,
and I think his comment of 210 is what a standard combat load is. It's typically
combat load.
30 round magazines in the infantry. Certainly some special operations or whatever might carry more than that, or a special mission or particular thing you might carry more, but that's typically what you're carrying.
Yep.
He says his daily carry is 90 rifle and 30 pistol is what he's got with him. 31 pistol rounds with him on his daily.
Yep.
And I've been working on. I have not been diligent but I need to finish a magazine holder that I was making to put on my on the duty belt that I essentially put on, so that I can carry more than just the I guess 12+1 that I've got in the pistol at this point. So.
This is a.
Just so I don't forget to talk about this later, Jared, because you have your combat bag, your medic bag, your go bag, whatever you want to call it, and we have the same with ammo pouches. But we also spend a lot of time talking about poisonous plants, insects, snakes. I mean, I've told Brittany, getting shot and blowing a knee in a combat situation is almost equivalent. Like danger is danger. So we spend a lot of time on first aid. We just spend a lot of time on our go bag as well. So I just wanted to make a quick shout out to good job on your go bag.
Yeah, and that's just my trauma kit I carry with me at work. I do have nearly a field hospital that we have at home that we can use for bug out and whatnot. One thing you might consider, Pete, there's something, this holster here, I'll have to look at the brand. I can't remember at the moment, but it holds two double stack mags and an AR mag, and fits on my vest. Will fit on your belt. It's a nice addition.
Nice. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, send me a link for that. I'd be curious to take
I
a
will.
peek at it. Okay, so Jared, talk a little bit. Now, you've been doing other training for a lot of years, but at what point did you start training Clayton? He's in the background there somewhere, hanging out, listening in. But at what point did you start training him?
As soon as he could walk and understood the word no, I started training him. He would see me cleaning and handling my weapons. He was not allowed to touch them. When he was about 2, I got him a toy pistol. I taught him how to handle it. He had a holster, carried on his hip. If he got caught pointing it at someone he was not supposed to point at, he lost the privilege to it and another toy. And kept training him. When he was 4, he started shooting. By the time he was 8, he shot every weapon I had. At age 9, he took part in his first competition. It was a little run and gun rifle competition. He was the youngest. The majority of the people in the competition were veterans, and he came in 3rd place.
Very nice.
I had a weapons malfunction and was DQ'd, and my 9-year-old came in 3rd place. It was amazing. So he's been training for a while. He can shoot everything I've got. We do a lot of dry fire practice. Like I said, we had an incident yesterday. My in-laws' granddaughter and her husband had left the house yesterday and had forgot to shut the door. We found out later, but we didn't know that. We knew they hadn't been home all day. The door was open. So he and I went in and cleared the house, and he knew exactly what to do. He went around the corners properly. He scoped the hallway. He checked the rooms, and had this pistol at a low ready the whole time.
Very nice.
He's killed numerous predators for our chickens, and we have chickens and guineas, and we have a lot of bobcats, coyotes, and even mountain lions out here. So he's always strapped up when he's outside working.
Very nice. Now, do y'all go? You have range there at your property, or do you go somewhere for a range? What's your normal practice with that?
We have our own property. I had a pistol course set up. We got a lot of rain and it's all flooded out right now, but we still go out and shoot on a regular basis. Dry fire practice quite a bit. Dry fire practice is vital. It not only teaches you proper handling techniques, it also desensitizes you to the recoil and the concussion of the weapon going off, so you don't anticipate it. And I had noticed at one point, I had noticed that he had started dropping his muzzle a little bit and was shooting low. And so we went through an additional hour, pretty much hour of dry fire practice, and I slipped one in on him a little deceptively. And when he fired, he hit exactly what he was pointing at, dead on, in under a second from a draw. So
nice.
And so when if you have someone who's anticipating the shot, dropping their muzzle or flinching a little bit, dry fire practice will help work that out of them.
Excellent. Now, Sean, you've been training with Sassy for how many years?
Probably really about 9 years. I mean, when we first met, she stepped out for a second, so I'm going to tell this story real quick so she didn't get mad at me. She had a little bit of a shiner, and I thought, what kind of guy are you? What kind of guy you been seeing? And it was actually oh damn, she came back. What did you hit your face with? The 270. So she went shooting at a gun range with a 270, and she didn't know how to hold it firmly, and she got kissed by the scope. And I said, hey, you're with me now. That's never going to happen again. So we pretty much started training, weapons cleaning, weapons malfunctions, again, a lot of dry fire practice, pretty much about our third or fourth date. I mean, I had to break her in right early,
So that was about 9 years ago. Now, what kind of stuff do y'all do in terms of training at this point? How do you go about doing that? What is your normal thought process, regimen, all that kind of good stuff?
Well, we actually went as far back in the early days is when I bought her first AR. I really wanted to understand the mechanics of it, so I made her break it down, clean it, disassemble it, reassemble it. If you remember, Pete and Jared, I think your Army as well, the old sports, slap, pull, observe,
Yeah.
release, stop, squeeze. I walked her through all of the, almost the Army field manual version, if you will. We would go out and shoot, and then we would throw something on TV or something, some music, and we would literally make a cocktail, and we would clean weapons, and we would assemble and reassemble. And I even taught her how to take a 9mm apart with her eyes closed and put it back together, and take an AR apart with her eyes closed, put it back together. But we made fun of it. It wasn't training per se, as much as it was spending time together, learning something new. She pretended to be interested. We all do the thing, and so she got really proficient at it. And then what's funny is that we were at deer camp probably, I'm guessing it was about 6 or 7 years ago, and there's a group of guys trying to all sight in their rifles. Just the old, hey, it's first day of deer season, opening weekend. Let's sight our rifles in, make sure we're on zero. Several guys had to tinker with theirs, this and that and the other. And there was 2 or 3 guys that just couldn't get theirs on zero. And so I would tinker, or she would tinker, she would shoot it. And they were like, okay, it must be good. If she can do it, I can do it. She just really got a knack for shooting, various weapon systems. And so I think part of it is her familiarity with taking them apart, putting them back together, and cleaning them has then given her the confidence to kind of pick up any weapon, whether it's a pistol, whether it's an AR platform, whether it's a bolt action. She's just gotten the confidence and the comfort. And so a lot of it's just familiarity. We do a lot of muzzle discipline, a lot of trigger discipline work. I mean, just it's as silly as it sounds. When we were first dating, we used to go clear our own house for fun. Like it was just like hey, let's clear the house real quick just to go through, and we would work those tactics together. Her in front sometimes, me in front most of the time, but we would clear left and we would clear right, and we just made it like as cheesy as it sounds, we made it like a dating activity, just something that we did together, that we had fun with, we made fun of, we were super careful, we were reflective. What could we have done better? We've just made it something that's fun, but functional and quite serious in our home, if that makes sense.
And there's a hint of competition.
Yeah, she's extremely competitive.
It became a lot of fun when I could take the 45 apart, put it back together with my eyes closed faster than he could.
I mean, like seconds, milliseconds.
But it was seconds.
She got to where she literally could do it. Like we would race, and she could put different weapon systems back together 2 or 3 seconds faster than I could, and I wasn't sandbagging. She really got that good.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and a testament to practice and dedication, that kind of thing. And I can think back to getting ready for Ranger School, and part of the first week, one of the things we had to do was to be able to break down multiple different weapons and put them back together inside of a very limited time window. And if I remember correctly, all the pieces went in the same box. So I mean, you're just dumping it all in, and then you take it all out. But when you're working with I think it was a pistol, a M60, and an M16. I think everything went into the box, and then everything came back out. It was either a 1911, or it might have been a 9mm. I forget what the 9mm was. That we were
Beretta 9mm.
Beretta, that's right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Beretta. I carried the 1911 in Korea, and then a Beretta in Saudi and Fort Bragg, and a M16 in both places. But yeah, all that stuff just takes practice, and I think a lot of people. I'll be honest, I'm guilty. I don't do enough practice. We one of the things that Lily wanted to try. Now, she's my second wife, and when she was here from Germany, earlier late last year in December, she'd never fired a weapon before. And we talked about weapons around here. And of course, Kelly has, my first wife is bilateral amputee from the military. And we had never tried shooting since she's been in the military 33 years ago, something like that. But we decided to take a trip to the range, and Kelly was like, well, why should I go? Because Lily wanted to try shooting. And so we took my pistol, took rifle, some other things. And we were there. And then Kelly was a little frustrated because she was watching Lily have all the fun. And finally I said, well, let's see what you can do. And we ended up actually figuring out how she could handle the AR and be able to fire it. And she was Deadeye Jane at about 75 yards. Dropped 30 rounds. You just one after another out of the magazine. And it was a little tricky because she was supporting the front end on a book bag that I had, and then holding up the back with one arm and pulling the trigger with the other. But she did really well, and I ended up making physical modifications on the rifle, so it now has a with the back of the stock, I've got a metal plate that comes up and over, and she can literally hang it on her right shoulder. And I've put a bipod on the front end so that now with her left arm free, she can kind of adjust and still pull the trigger with the right.
That's amazing, Pete.
And then Lily, so we ended up making a couple trips to the range while Lily was here. And both of them are starting to gain some proficiency with a couple different weapons.
That's awesome, man.
So that's very interesting for kind of a new development in our house, and just finding out what can each member of the team contribute, and then train within those parameters. Now you have some children as well, Sean. Your son now is a grown man. And I'm sure you taught him to shoot, and y'all did lots of hunting and stuff growing up, or what was your practice with your son coming along?
Yeah, a lot like Jared. I mean, from the time, I'm a big believer in, this is my safety, right? And so we had guns leaning in the corner and maybe loaded, maybe not loaded. We treat every gun like it's loaded. My son will pick up a gun, check the chamber, no matter if it's a pistol or a rifle. And so we screw up that way. And so he shot his first, pig, I think his first animal was a pig when he was 9 with a 308 lever action rifle. And he just grew up hunting. Now he's an advocate. He goes to different trade shows, and he loves to learn about gun safety, gun laws. I mean, his wife, who actually, and I say this without making this a political arena, his wife is very liberal. I mean, like outspokenly liberal, very, just anyway. And she's gotten into shooting. She loves his headship. She loves his authority. She loves that he's patient with her, and that she's, he started out on a 22, and then he went to a 380, then went to a 9mm. Now she's addicted to a 40 and to a 223 and to a 308. And so, it's just, he grew up hunting and shooting. My daughters, I've got 3 daughters. It's funny because 75% is not bad, I guess. I've got a son, and then my 2 younger daughters, avid shooters, hunters, skeet shooting, target shooting, whatever. And then my oldest daughter won't touch them. Her husband hunts, fishes, loves to shoot, loves to build, loves to, anything outdoors, and she won't touch them. So my son and my 2 youngest daughters, they're ready to defend the ends. My middle princess is exactly that. She's just like, you know what? Go team, but not interested. She's the same one that I bought a Jeep when she was 16, 4x4 Jeep, tricked out, pimp daddy, couldn't drive a stick. Had it for a year, and she never learned to drive it. So she's the one we're going to eat first. I'll just say that.
Sounds a lot like my wife. So my wife does have a pistol and a rifle that are hers, the only things that she's comfortable with, and they stay in her backpack ready to bug out, except for her pistol is up on top of a shelf in our room just in case. But other than that, I might get her to shoot them once a year, if that, but just enough to where she says, okay, I know how it operates. The rest of it's you. So,
well, without making this about, anything crazy, I'll just tell you, being married, I think that the scripture about being equally yoked is way, way, way underrated or way misunderstood, because this kooky woman that I have partnered myself with now, this is her belt charm. When she goes to the grocery store, this is what she wears on her belt. We live in Texas. It's a Longhorn, but is it a Longhorn?
That's great.
This isn't even show and
hilarious.
tell play. This is just me reaching over on the coffee table. Is this a purse? This is her daily.
It looks
This
like-
is when she goes to feed the chickens or
Looks
goes
like
to
a
the grocery
keychain
store.
ornament. That's great. That's good stuff.
That,
Fantastic.
my friends, is a lesson in equally yoked right there.
Hey, big shalom to the brother Jan there, sneaking in. Good to see you, brother. So, talk to me a little bit about what your thoughts are for how people who maybe weren't raised in a culture that, or in a family that just respected and practiced and handled all of this. What would be a great way for somebody to sort of get started? If
we talking to the men or we talking to the women?
let's start by talking to the men, because I think primarily it's a man's responsibility, but certainly ladies need to know this too. In the world around us, I think every woman who is able should, with her husband's permission, Carrie.
Well, I don't want to come over the top rope, but I will. I'm a little fired up about this topic lately. So I will say to men, if you don't know how to shoot, shame on you. Go buy a firearm of any kind, learn how to use it proficiently, learn how to take it apart, learn how to fix it, learn how to clean it, learn how to put it back together, and then find you a woman who is interested in the same things that you are, and then be patient with that woman, be kind, be understanding, know that things that go boom scare her, but because you have become a weapons expert and you can confidently and comfortably teach her, guide her, encourage her how to then become proficient with it, you guys can make it fun. If men don't learn how to use firearms and then become patient and supportive, encouraging teachers of women using firearms, China's going to win. Like, we're in deep, like population wise, we need men and women for whatever may come our way, but they're teaching their kids in second grade or pre-K while ours are watching, TikTok, whatever dance videos. So men, buy a firearm or a dozen, learn how to use them, clean them, be confident and comfortable with them, and then be patient with your women and teach them how to use them too. Make it a fun thing.
I'll say to the men, real quick, I'll be concise. Man up.
Good stuff. Totally agree. Totally, absolutely support the message. Now, Sean, you said go buy a gun and learn how to use it. I think a lot of places now, Titus Strickland, who is a friend of mine, a patron in our patron on our patron channel, he's in Hawaii. I told him when we start making the ministry tour, I'm going to make Hawaii my first stop. But Titus just put up an advertisement there for Palmetto State Armory, something that they've got going on right now. I'm not necessarily promoting that, but Sean, you talked about, go buy a gun and then learn how to use it. Places like PSA, I know we've got one local, but there are a lot of gun shops, gun stores where you can go and you can ask a lot of questions. They're happy to help you. They're happy to show you the ins and outs. It's easy, I think, early on to go be completely overwhelmed by the amount of stuff under a counter, or to read a couple gun magazines, and you just can't make up your mind because everybody's little opinion of every odd and end hoo-ha gadget, what have you. I'm going to tell you what I've got here. I went when I decided to start open carrying and had to get concealed so that my CWP so that I could open carry in South Carolina. Figured that one out. I went down and I looked, and there were $600, $700, $800 pistols under the counter, and I looked at that and I said, you know what, $255. I can't go wrong with a decent name, and it's a decent, it's a decent pistol, and that's my daily carry right now. And I can tell you, it's been in and out of the holster so many times that the sides are worn and the holster's worn. And ooh, thank you. Look at that. Dessert just showed up. But $255 plus, I think I spent a little bit on ammo and maybe $25 on a holster for it. And it's a decent entry point for $300. And then a lot of times any of those stores will either have an indoor range where you can buy some time. If you need, if you don't know somebody, you can buy some time, and a certified instructor can spend a little bit of time helping you get some basic proficiency. It won't solve it. But, there are a lot of places that are public ranges too. South Carolina, again, one of the neat things, the wildlife game, I forget who it is exactly. South Carolina Wildlife and Game, the agency that handles that stuff, whatever they're called. I don't know. The Rabbit Sheriff. They have free open public ranges that you can just drive in on and use the range as long as you follow the range rules. And it's open typically all daylight hours, 7 days a week, occasionally closed on some holidays. But thanks, Titus. I'm telling you, you keep baiting me. We may have to make this trip. I got to get 3 plane tickets though, right? For people who are looking to get started or looking to learn something, there are lots of people that want to teach you. And even going to a public range, a lot of times you can just go and ask questions, and men like Jared and Sean and Sassy are happy to step up and help. Well, I don't disagree with you there either, Palmetto. There are, you have to be wise and smart, but the point is you can make some good contacts and find somebody or some people that are willing to help. It's not hard to get into even sports shooting, but then to learn some proficiency. What are some other ways you men would recommend learning proficiency that develops the skills necessary for our home protection?
Well, if I can interject one thing real quick before you answer that question, Jared, is just let me encourage the women. Women like to learn from women. They don't like to be mansplained, if you will. So when I take Sassy to the gun range and there are other women there, they flock to her. She flocks to them. There's just a comfort level with a woman who is actually proficient with a weapon system that other women really like. So women, I would just encourage you, learn from your man, understand how to use one of these weapon systems, and then teach other women, because they're more comfortable learning typically, or at least the introductory part of it, from other women. So step up, ladies. Sorry, Jared, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was going to right along with that. Find someone that you know personally that is proficient, and get with them, and someone that you trust. And back to what Pete was saying about the affordability of a weapon, go to a police outfitter somewhere and find you a police trade-in. This gun here has been my duty gun for many, many moons. I've converted it from 40 caliber to 357 SIG. But if you can only afford one gun, you can't afford much, a police trade-in like this in 40 caliber goes for about $270. Wow, and gets it's a $600 gun, or at least minimum. This one's probably about 15 years old. It's ugly as dirt. It shoots 3,000-4,000 rounds a year, maybe. And Glock is like a Honda. They'll keep running. They're very simple to learn how to maintain them. Very, very simple. I recommend that a lot for a first gun. But if you're going to have a Glock, they only have passive safeties. One of them is in the trigger, and one of them is internal. So you have to have a holster that protects the trigger, so you don't accidentally engage it. So I personally recommend a Safariland. if you're going to open carry or outside the belt. I don't like behind the belt carry. Uncomfortable. I did it for years, doing undercover work. Just never really cared for it. I know Pete has a holster that's got a index retention. Do not advise that for anyone who was not in the Army. Got plenty of training in the Army. You know how to properly engage it. Someone who's not trained properly will shoot themselves in the leg. A Safari Land it releases with your thumb. You can keep your hand indexed or your finger indexed. But when you get your weapon, get training, whether it's someone you know or someone you pay.
And you make a great point. Jared, on purchasing a police trade-in. And I'm not necessarily, I wasn't aware of that, but my thought was a lot of people will pay extra dollars for some sort of doohickey or for flashy or name or whatever, instead of recognizing that there's nothing wrong at all. In fact, there may even be wisdom in just a tried and true, basic whatever that gets the job done. Because I think there are a lot of people that buy name, or they buy things that are more than what they necessarily need because they heard about it on a YouTube video, instead of simply finding something that fits in their budget and that will get the job done.
Pete, if I can jump in on that topic, let me just show you guys real quick. So you see the difference in our hands? Pretty massive difference, right? So I tell all people, but particularly women, that ergonomics is the most important thing. I don't care if you're shooting a 22, a 357, a 357 short, a 38 special, a 9mm, a 40, 45. It doesn't matter. You can be shooting a 50 cal. If it doesn't fit in your hand, you've got a problem. So like, while I'm a big proponent, I love the Glock. I mean, you can drive over it with your car. You can throw it in the mud. You can, use it as a hammer and then pick it up and shoot it. It doesn't fit everybody's hand. It's blocky, it's square, it doesn't have a great ergonomic approach. So whether it's a Walther, whether it's a PPQ, whether it's a SIG, whether it's a Colt, whether it's a Smith & Wesson, the most important thing, it's got to fit that little palm right there, and then from there you can start really refining it. So my encouragement is do a lot of hand holding. Go to a gun show, go to a gun shop, just touch them, just feel them, and dry fire them, and then you can worry about caliber, etc. So that's my two cents.
And something else I recently discovered. Now, we purchased a Glock for Lily, so she has something when she's here. And I did not realize that the grips on those come with adjustments or additional pieces that can change the size of the grip for hand fit. And she has a fairly large hand compared to, for example, when Kelly had hands, her hands are tiny, probably much like Sassy's. But that's a consideration to take as well. If you're purchasing a pistol for ergonomics, you need to be able to have a pistol that has an adjustable hand size if different people are going to be carrying the same caliber, same make and model, so that you can share magazines. Really good point right there. Also, I love the point that Brother John Witten made over here in terms of having a defensive mindset, because that actually is more important than just being able to handle a weapon, but having a mindset or a mentality where you're always on the alert and what's going on around you. We could talk a little bit about simply going to restaurant, going to filling station, going to, convenience stores, and how you act and that sort of thing. But it's also being aware of your surroundings at all time and what's available to you if you don't have, a weapon like a pistol or something within immediate reach. And that speaks to Titus's as well. It's not just about budget in hand, because, the right time and place, it might be a hammer that's what it takes to defend yourself or your family, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, we're speaking primarily about firearms this evening, but those are other things to take into consideration.
There's a book by a gentleman named Neil Strauss called Emergency. And it says this book will, I think the subtitle is This Book May Save Your Life. And he's actually a New York Times, no, I'm sorry, he's a Rolling Stones reporter that's writing a book at the end of Y2K or during the Y2K process.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks it's going to be the end of the world, comes and goes, it's nothing. Then Katrina comes, and he really understands what it's like when what hits the fan. It doesn't have to be a terrorist attack. It doesn't have to be Y2K. Katrina, Rita, all of that was horrific. And so it's a great book. Neil Strauss, Emergency, great book. But to your point, Pete, one of the things that Sassy and I have always done, it's funny because we've only been to Vegas a couple of times. We got tickets to some club one time from a friend of mine, and we had flown from Houston to Vegas, and she had a plastic knife that was TSA approved, and it was in the bottom of her purse. And we tried to go to this club in Las Vegas, and we almost got arrested because she had this TSA approved knife and plastic knife in the bottom of her purse. But the point to that is that while they confiscated that one, we've done that a number of trips, whether it's, fiberglass chopsticks and hair that can be pulled and used as, weapons, or whether it's plastic knives. And there's a number of things that you can do, above and beyond just a sidearm or a firearm that can be, plenty fatal.
Have to watch a John Wick movie or two.
Just saying.
The hand-to-hand skills is vital. And if you travel to a foreign country like New Jersey, you can't carry your weapon. But there's a Walmart there, and they have Pioneer Woman knives, which are full tang. They're high-quality steel. They're cheap enough you can throw them away, so you don't have to worry about flying home with them. And it's an option.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. And on a kind of on a broader scale, something a lot of people don't stop and think about is just personal fitness and maintaining a level of personal fitness in terms of strength and tone and endurance and all these sorts of things. Even just simply, maintaining a good long walk on a regular basis, some of these different things, because those are also crucial in defending your house, defending your family. So what else would you talk about?
I mean, man, we've gotten into things from stretching to our vitamin intake to hydration. I mean, we're just realizing that there's so much more that comes into to like. Did you ever watch a show? There was a show for a little while where it was a guy named Will something. He was an ex-army guy, and his call sign was Whiskey Whiskey. His name was Will Williamson or something like that. But anyway, he was an ex-army guy that had a kind of, it was an early like YouTube channel, but he would go out and do offensive ops against an op 4. And the things that really stymied him was, back cramps, dehydration, twisted ankles. It wasn't the tactical stuff that you always thought it was going to, I shot you, you shot back at me, there's this injury. No, it was leg cramps or pulled hamstring or, dehydration. There's a lot more that goes into being ready for a tactical, tactical engagement than just knowing what weapon you're going to pull. And so we've been just trying to be really conscious of things like hydration. We each, try to achieve for optimal hydration every day, which is over 100 ounces of water every single day. We're trying to do better with our diet, eat clean, not only Levitically clean, but just cleaner in general, trying to do more, whether it's picking up firewood or picking up limbs. We're just trying to do more overall active stretching and engaging body activities up to and including, PT, rifle PT, if the
Right.
case may be.
No, those are all important. Because back to the original home defense, you have to take a holistic approach. What your particular tool is, whether it's a pistol or a rifle or a baseball bat, whatever the tool happens to be, it's only as good as the person who's handling it or wielding it or the skill set that he's got to bring to the table. And that includes fitness, it includes mindset, it includes training, it includes all these other things that go with it. Yeah, very much.
Well, to your point, Pete, something as simple as, and I don't mean to make this graphic or dark, but understanding what killing something is like. Sassy had an experience where she shot a doe, and it was a clean kill. It was a good kill, but it wasn't an actual kill shot, and she had to observe that animal gasping, breathing. She had to observe the death process, and it was quite the toll. And so something as simple as being mentally prepared that when you discharge a firearm, it's going to go bang and it's going to have this feel. But whatever happens on the other end of that firearm, whether it be an animal life or a human life or just a target, you've got to deal with that as well. And so, there's a lot of both the physical and the mental aspect come into discharging a firearm.
Yes. The mental aspect on the active shooter training that I used to do, the major portion of that is mindset preparation. It is designed to, I will definitely get with you and share that with you, Sean. It is shocking to the normal person when they view these videos of what has happened. The language is not, it's not kosher. It's very graphic. Most of it
isn't like the movies.
It's not like the movies. It's not choreographed. It's real, live. What actually happens. They didn't have good footage of the Columbine shooting, but there's a team of students that got together and worked with the FBI and did an actual second by second, moment by moment reenactment that was absolutely perfect. And they reenacted the whole thing down to the words being said. And it's so graphic, you do not realize it's a reenactment. And that's one of the first things that we would show. And people would get up and leave the room in tears, grown men that couldn't handle it. And those are the people, if they're in your group, take note of those people, because you're not going to be able to count on them. Right. People have what's called the lizard brain. In a high stress moment, it goes back to the most primitive part of their thought process, to instinct, and how they've conditioned their instinct to operate takes over. Most people freeze, some people panic and run, and then there are those few who engage. And you have to train your brain not to do the freeze and not to do the flight. You have to be able to fight.
Those decisions have to be made long in advance, well in advance, have to be trained for. Yeah.
Yep. Because if you wait till time comes, it's too late.
To your point, Jared, I mean, we were talking to some friends of ours just here recently about fight or flight, and we brought up fight, flight, or freeze, and they didn't even know what we were talking about. They had only heard of fight or flight, and we're like, no. Freeze is a big component. Yeah, fight, flight sounds sexy, like it's like there's a decision one way or the other. And the truth is the majority of people rest in the indecision of just freeze.
Yep.
Right. I have to quick story here. Kelly posted the comment there, and probably only one person in the room got that one. So I told her she had to go get me one. For a while, I had a side hustle or side business a number of years where I was making metal palmetto trees. And these were sold. It's the state of South Carolina is the base. And this is just nice, thin piece of metal. But we always joked when I sold these things that you could turn it this way and that thing would be an almost lethal weapon if you had instruct someone with that. Just as things laying around, things, use these to prop a door open. But I'm telling you what, if you had to pick it up and swing it at somebody, you could do some damage.
Remember that.
Wow. It's beautiful though.
Nice work too, Pete.
Thanks.
Yep. Another
Thanks.
thing that no one thinks about is footwear. If you're wearing slip-ons or something that's old, ratty, high heels for the ladies, and you have to run, you're going to be barefoot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think footwear sometimes can't be what you plan for. Now you can adjust your average daily footwear. Maybe you wear cowboy boots, or for me, in my job, I'm either in cowboy boots or I'm in hiking boots, or tennis shoes. But around the farm here, you might catch me in flip flops or Crocs or something like that, and you just got you got to do business in what you got, right? Dance with what you brung, right?
Well, I mean, if nobody ever saw Die Hard, I'm just telling you, you should have learned your lesson right there.
Yep.
Yeah, all that glass, right?
Yeah.
And I agree with Palmetto Paratrooper. It's hard to take anyone in Crocs seriously.
Yeah, but dude, if I could go cruising into the chicken pen and take care of all of that and come cruising back out and I could slip them on and slip them off and leave them standing at the back door, ain't no problem. You won't see me wearing them at Walmart or in town, I can tell you that. But it works. It works for slipping them on. That or my my mud boots when we've gotten a lot of rain. If I have to go feed the cows, because then I'm slopping around out there. Excellent. So, do either of y'all like long range shooting?
I've been known to do a little bit of long range shooting in my past. Yes, sir.
What's long range for you? 1,000 yards?
1,000 yards.
Very nice. Jared, similar, same?
It's been a while. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be, but I used to do 400 yards open sights all the time, and I have stretched it out to 1,000 yards. But my eyes are nowhere near capable of doing the 400 yards open sights anymore. Trying to focus on, it just doesn't work. But with a scope, I've done 1,000 yards, quite a bit. I've got a cousin who's a competition shooter for Athlon, and he goes out even further than that. He's got I can't remember his caliber. It's one of the big, it's a Norma round, and he goes way out there with it.
Nice.
I haven't done 400 yard open sight since 1994 when I was 18 years old. So you have my kudos, sir.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably haven't done that since being on the range. 93 was probably about the last time I was on the range with the military for open sights.
He said open sight 400 yards. I was like, oh, that was 3 decades ago.
Yeah. So yeah, I think my open sights range is now about 50 feet.
Yeah. But again, I mean, if you watch anything like, what is the name? Active Self-Protection. That guy, John Correa, I think, has a YouTube channel that walks through or talks through actual situations caught on camera, and talks about the good things and the bad things. But a vast majority of situations that are going to unfold within 30 feet of you, 30 to 50 feet. Most stuff is up close and personal. Very rarely is there going to be something way out at a distance that you have to worry about, right?
So
there's
if I may show you the old timers version of a weapon. So I've got a 1-6 here with a green dot here with pop-up sides on the side, but I have to use different eyes depending on which reticle I want to use because of the up close versus the distance. This is tactical shooting at 47.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Yeah,
is,
go ahead.
I said, that is not a lie. So,
Yeah, my setup is not nearly that. I don't plan on reaching out that far. Everything that I've got a green dot and at 100 yards, and anything inside of that. That's about what I've got set up on my AR.
my longer, not long range, but longer range AR, I've got it set up with an ACOG and flip up sights on a 45, so I can transition back and forth.
Yeah.
Right there, just like that. That's the exact same setup I've got on mine.
And I'm with Palmetto. I need to add a light to mine, but I just found some really nice and they were low budget, maybe $15 a piece lights, little flashlights. I wanted something that I could put on my belt. And this thing right here, I forget how many. It's, I don't know, 2,500 lumen or something like that. And I mean, it'll burn a hole in somebody's retina in broad daylight.
I've
This
got
thing
1,000
reaches
lumen on this rifle, and it'll blind you quick.
unbelievable. Yeah.
This right here, a lot of officers carry this. It's 4,000 lumens. It is a great weapons light. It's a great light. It's more of a flood. It's not a spot. They have pressure switches for it. You can mount it on your rifle. You accidentally shine it in someone's eyes, they will not be able to see for about an hour. And you hit a threat with a strobe, they're blind.
Yeah. Yeah. Which even just the light by itself like that is a strong advantage if you can hit it and get somebody with it. Going back to military training. Yep. Going back to military training, just trying to make sure that you protect your shooting eye. Yep. Your camera's burned. I can't see anything now.
No, but you joke, Pete, but like as silly as it sounds, you know, I mean, when I get up and go to the bathroom at 3 o'clock in the morning, I still close my shooting eye because, I mean, I don't anything from stumping my toe to, you know, something else in the house. I don't want to take that as a risk. So I still do that as a nightly SOP, if you will. You know, I just close that eye when I got to do the thing, you know.
Not a bad habit. I mean, I can remember, you know, we were both in the sandbox in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and I can remember, you know, at night just using all the Illum rounds and just having to be on the hop for that. Close that up.
Yeah.
A little word of warning about lights. If you have a weapons mounted light, I have a TLR1 HL on my duty weapon. Do not use it as a flashlight. It's not safe. You're pointing the gun everywhere you're looking. If you're trying to find something, you run into one of your kids, your animals in the dark, you're pointing your weapon right at them. So do not use your weapons mounted light as a flashlight. It is only for illuminating your targets, disorienting a threat.
Great point. Great point.
Yep.
Very good point. Yeah, mine is not mounted. I've got typically it's a hold it in one hand and the other.
Yeah.
So
that's still
very
work.
cool. What else you want? Anything else?
Well, I mean, not to be graphic or gruesome, but I mean, Brittany and I even did some knife training. I mean, we thought that was important. Some blocking tactics, some, you know, parry lunge. I mean, you just never know what you're going to get into in a close, you know, situation. So she's got well, I showed you her belt buckle already, but then she's also got not a switchblade mechanism, but with the push the button and the blade just comes straight out. I mean, we've just tried to take everything from chopsticks in your hair to a pin in your shirt to oh yeah, there it is. You know, I mean, just whatever you need, you know, just.
Yep. the first rule of knife fighting is you're going to get cut.
Yeah.
Just know that you're going to get cut and control their weapon. And second rule of knife fighting is always have a knife.
A puncture.
That's right. So it's much better to get cut on the forearm than it is in the gut.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, gentlemen, y'all headed to the range?
Let's go shoot something.
I'd love
Let's
to.
do it. Why don't you come down to Texas and visit us? That'll be a good excuse for us to get together finally.
I need to. I hope, and for you, I hope you've been able to get in touch with our friend in the Houston area, and be able to sit
We
down
had
and have a
dinner the other night.
Good, fantastic, very good.
I tell you what, I'll make you both a deal. If the two of you will figure out how to mobilize, I will put you up in your own quarters on my property, and we'll go do some shooting, some fishing, some hunting, whatever y'all want to do.
See, I've got friends in Houston I want to come see as well. So sooner or later, we're the three of us here are going to make our way out that way because we want to come visit a family in Houston that we know as well.
Please do. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, I'd love to. And I've told you before, we've got a complete RV setup here. If y'all are ever out this way, drag your camper and come spend a couple
If we
days.
can figure out how to feed our animals long enough to get out of town, we're going to do it.
Come on, you're
We're in
welcome.
this. So I'm trying to get my parents to move back from Tennessee, so we have a animal sitter so we can go places.
We need an animal sitter so we can go visit some folks.
One thing we didn't discuss much was home defense. There's
All right, so give us some.
there's several things. Make sure you know what is behind your target, because bullets will go through walls. Buckshot will go through 4 sheets of plywood and still have enough energy to kill something. So make sure that what you're shooting at, what your target is, what's behind your target, because you never know. If something happens, your shot goes wild, they jump out of the way, what's behind them?
Right.
Also, if you are under siege, having planter boxes under your windows that are filled with sand will stop just about any bullet that will go through, except for maybe this little bugger right here. Might not stop this, but pretty much everything else it's going to stop. Having maybe a foot deep, like a.
Why are you big flexing on the show here, man? He pulled out the 50 cal Beowulf's big flexing on the show, man.
He's trying to make sure this video gets taken down.
Yeah, big flexing.
I bought that for a specific purpose, and I load them. That's another thing, is loading. It is for big hogs that come on my property, try to kill things, and semi trucks that try to run through my front door. So, but we tested it. It will penetrate 26 inches of sand and rock. Yeah. You're not going to stop a vehicle with a pistol. So if you have people, the economy crashes, it's going to happen. There's going to be people roving around trying to steal stuff, trying to take your stuff. And if they're mechanized, your pistol, your AR-15 is not going to stop them unless you have a little bit more oomph behind it. Now, that's not something I carry a lot of ammo in. It's not something I'm going to use, but it's there for a specific purpose. Hand loading for preparation. Learn how to hand load. If the economy crashes, you can't get ammo, like the shortages we just had. Know how to make your own stuff. Have some supplies set aside. Whoa, sorry about that. I just had a
They're coming through the door.
major malfunction. My my tablet, the little perch I had it sitting on, got shook. Sorry about that. But hand loading, you know, setting up your property for defense. If you have multiple buildings, make sure that you can cover one building from the other. Make it difficult for someone to come in. If someone makes it inside your house, make sure you have cover. Make it where it's, you know, they have to go through an alley to get back to the main part of your house, where they're stuck in a channel. My house is set up to where if they come in, they have to get deeper into my house. They have to go through this one section that's only 3 or 4 foot wide, and they have to go through it. Otherwise, they're not getting in all the way. And while they're going through that section, I'm behind a staircase. And, you know, plan. I built my house myself. So, you know, it's set up the way I wanted it. There's quite a bit of cover getting into where we are. Let's see. There was something else. But yeah, just have a plan. That's the most important part. Even if it's not a perfect plan.
You always
just
have the
have
advantage of knowing you always have the advantage of knowing the property yourself better than probably anybody that would be trying to do something. And so having a plan. If you've got a team, the team needs to be read into the plan and practice the plan, or have ideas, walk through different potential scenarios, etc. And that's something that should be done.
Something that's a future plan is building a I don't want to say the word on YouTube. It's a house that's designed. You go in, and the design is you have people in there who are trying to you know, airsoft, simulations, whatever. They're trying to stop you from protecting your place, and you get hit with a paintball round, you're out, and stuff like that. So simulations is getting hard to get now. It is, you know, there's a bill in Congress that's trying to outlaw it for people who are not in law enforcement. So the average person wouldn't be able to get a hold of it. We had one of those houses set up with one of the companies that I was previously employed in, and it was quite fun and quite painful. So, but the pain of getting shot with even airsoft is enough to make you not want to get shot again. So airsoft, paintball is good training.
True. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, we have, and I have not used them yet. We got them not terribly long ago. I've got a couple airsoft pistols that we can use here for playing games in the house.
Well, my encouragement would be whatever mechanisms, it's most important that they have the ability to load and reload. So when you get an airsoft pistol, because airsoft's a great training tool, but you have to be able to mag exchange, holster, reholster, mag exchange, holster, weapon transition, holster, fire, holster. You know, like you got to be able to do all the mechanisms. So as long as you can
practicing going through all of the different things that you would be doing in an active situation.
Butt stroke, you know, knife. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. And tactical reloads.
Yeah.
If you are in a situation where you have to defend yourself, most cases with your adrenaline up, you're not going to realize how many rounds you fired. I believe one survey that was done, the majority of officers, when they're in a shooting, they report they have fired 3 or 4 rounds, and when they check, their magazine is empty. So as soon as you get through firing, drop that mag, no matter how many times you thought you fired, and load up, because you don't know if he's got a buddy hiding around the corner.
I think Palmetto Palm Trooper wants to talk about his SOCOM experience. Hey, by the way, to his point, I mean, like my son and I used to play SOCOM, and we had the headsets and the whole deal, and we would do the movements, and he would move, and I would move, and he would move, and I would move, and he would shoot, and I would acquire the target, and I would eliminate this target, and he would acquire that target. I mean, there is some application if if you're in the video game world, which I'm really not. That was circa 1998. But I mean, if you're in that world, you can use it to your advantage for sure.
Sure.
Yes,
Sure.
it's definitely a mindset trainer.
And Palmetto actually, this being the Palmetto State, was from right up the road here. He has since moved probably much closer to y'all's part of the country. He's somewhere north of you, but he's another skilled infantryman that was from this area, and a close friend of one of our mutual friends, the Rolting Man, Zach. So, yeah.
Well, I will take that with the warning label in which it was intended.
I do need to clarify something. Earlier, you said you supposed I was in the Army as well, but it was my dad that was in the Army. So my experience is all law enforcement.
Now with a private security agency, where do y'all get your additional training?
It depends on who you're with. Some agencies do a lot of training, and some expect you to get it yourself. Who I'm with now, they do provide training, maybe not as much because they're a large corporation, maybe not as much as others that I've been with. But for that matter, depending on your police department, if you're in law enforcement, they don't do a whole lot of training. I got more training on the private side than I ever did in the public sector.
Interesting. And so where do they send you for stuff like that? They just through private agencies that do that kind of training, or
that there's quite a bit of training in Texas that is geared towards law enforcement, bodyguards, such and so forth. There is a CSI in Colorado is a pretty intense executive protection program. I would recommend that over some of the others. There is a lot of there's a company in Waxahachie. I can't think of the name of it in Texas that is into training for law enforcement, security type stuff. There's one in Austin. So it's just pick and choose. Mostly is by reputation. You see who has the best reputation and people who have experience, and you go there. So
your bodyguard has left the building.
It is, and I normally do never sit with my back to a door, but with him sitting over here to the side, watching it, this was the best way I could set up lighting here. So,
and that's something we didn't talk about earlier. I mentioned it briefly, but in terms of just out and about in the daily life, the average person doesn't necessarily think about sitting. My wife, or wives and I, when we walk into a restaurant, for example, they automatically know to sit so that, or to take the seats that are going to allow me the door view, or going to allow me the greatest view of what's around us. That, we don't even have to ask. We walk in, and prior to Lily coming into the family, Kelly, a lot of times we'd walk into a restaurant and she automatically knows where to sit.
Yep.
Or as we get to the table, she'll look at me because she wants me to give her the cue for which chair I want. And then I will pull out or seat her so that I can sit where I can see the door, or I can see the major avenue of approach, have my back to whatever, which is very common. Same thing with filling stations. Usually if I'm walking into a filling station that I'm not familiar with, when I go into the front door, my first thing, of course, I'm scanning everything, but I'm going to turn and I'm going to walk around the perimeter. I'm going to stay around the outside edges to go get what I want instead of walking through the middle and exposing myself to things on all sides instead of knowing that at least this side is covered as I'm walking around the perimeter, right? But just there are a lot of smart things that you can do in terms of just being able to constantly be aware of your surroundings and take advantage of the natural defense or natural cover and concealment and protection as you're going.
Well, and not to ever underestimate the value of good acting skills. So, like, I think Brittany and I saw it on a meme actually, but Sassy sent me a meme that was like a coyote or a wolf or something, and it was the lioness, if you will, like cowering, but she wasn't actually cowering. She was contemplating how to attack. And so
Sure.
a lot of what Sassy and I do, I'm always going to be the front. I'm 6'1", she's 5 foot nothing. I'm going to stand in the front, even if I have my weapon drawn, don't have my weapon drawn. I'm just, creating the posture. She's going to hide behind me while she's actually tactically and strategically preparing herself to defend both she and I. So I'm going to run shield, firearm at the ready if possible. She's going to use my shield to prepare herself for battle while drawing, chambering, and doing whatever with the weapon she needs to. So we are actually working in tandem at all times, where I am sometimes, the aggressor, and sometimes I'm the decoy.
Right. It's another mode of operation. Yeah, it's certainly in my situation. If I'm with Kelly, we haven't figured out anything that she can handle in terms of a handgun. It's not an option there yet for us, for her. So yeah, it changes our dynamic a little bit.
There's another thing when you walk into a room, have not only a primary but secondary, and I never can pronounce the proper word for the third. There you go.
Tertiary.
And tertiary, you always have those exits, and those exits are not always a door. Sometimes it's a window. Sometimes it's a wall. Pay attention to the way the construction's made. And I'm right about 200 pounds. I'm 5'8" 9" somewhere in there. If I get moving fast, I'm going to go through a wall. Might break a 2x4, but it's going to open. If it's cinder block, I'm going to have a problem. But you hit a wall hard enough, you go through it and make an exit. And there was a huge fire at a concert. It's in some of my training. I can't remember the city, but there was a huge fire broke out, and I think there was 140 something people that died in this fire, and they were all in the lobby. They had crowded the lobby so much that they could not get through. They suffocated and died. There was huge plate glass windows and metal chairs. Anyone could have broken and gotten out. There was a back exit and windows on another side. None of them went out there. I think 5 people made it out the back exit. That was it. And once people got jammed in the foyer, because that's the way they came in, that's the only way they knew out. You go in a way like that, there's a saying, even a rat doesn't trust himself to one hole. So.
Into that. Well said.
Great point. Good point.
Well said.
All right, gentlemen. Well, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark, or approaching the 2-hour mark, and good conversation. A lot of things to think about. Certainly a lot of this needs to grow into more depth, but I hope that from this, someone or some couple someones that watch this will be motivated to take some active steps themselves and or in their families for being able to better protect themselves, protect their homes, protect their families. And those are important things. What would you have as closing thoughts? What are some closing thoughts?
Guys, if you don't like guns, you don't have a gun, and you're married, your wife doesn't have a husband, she has another wife.
Did you drop the mic?
No, I just ended. That's that man up statement. Just man up.
It went silent. Absolutely, though we don't have enough men. You know, there are a lot of men who are males that think they're men, but you know, really, it's a matter of being able to protect the ground that you're standing on and protect the people that you love.
Yeah. My 2 cents is this: if anybody really wants to test themselves, you know, and I know within the confines of your work world, so maybe it's not tomorrow because tomorrow's Monday, you know, but this Friday night at 5 o'clock, I'll issue a challenge. This Friday night, you got 5 days to plan for it. Friday night at 5 o'clock, pretend you have no power, you have no refrigeration, you have nothing. So build a fire, cook some food, figure out a place to sleep that's dry. Figure, you know, like really do a 24-hour, 48-hour bug out, and eat what's in your fridge. You don't even have to you don't have to kill your food, but build a fire, eat the food in your fridge, have a firearm at the ready. You know, spend 24 or 48 hours roughing it and see if you can do it. And if you can't, and you're a man, you got a real freaking problem. Because if you can't provide for you for 24 or 48 hours, you sure as hell, pardon my French, but you sure as hell can't provide for your wife and your family, or wives and family, whatever the case may be. You can't provide if you cannot survive for 24 to 48 hours out of your own refrigerator with no electricity, no HVAC, no water, no nothing. Did I start something? Uh-oh.
No,
No.
comment or poetry. I was actually going to point that out.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
what did I do? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so
What did I do? What did I step in?
Sukkot, the one of the fall feasts, it's 8 days. It's a
Oh,
week
okay.
long. That's when you're supposed to be going out and doing some of this stuff. It's actually supposed to be rejoicing before Yah, but it's a great opportunity to be roughing it. And a lot of people go glamping that week, but that's a good week to rough it and enjoy it. And that's that
Well, I'll tell you
good
this:
point there, Palmetto.
challenge accepted and challenge submitted.
So
Cool.
another thing,
Yeah.
if you have sons, train them to fill in your place. If you're out of town, which I am quite a bit, or if something happens to me, I have full faith that my son, even at 14, can protect my family.
Very nice.
Hallelujah.
Fantastic.
Hallelujah.
Praise Yah. All right, gentlemen, we will wrap it up here, but a lot of good stuff. I pray that this will encourage others, will strengthen and help them in their own families and in protection. And I look forward to hanging out with you guys some more in the Telegram and with some of the stuff that we've got going on as men, and encouraging and strengthening each other, building family, building teams. So absolutely. So
Thank you,
good
Pete,
stuff.
for hosting this. Jared, thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
you
It's
too.
definitely an honor.
All right, for King and Kingdom, we bid you shalom.
Well,
Shalom.